selection tools. The first selection tool that we run into is the lasso tool. The lasso tool allows you in a very free-form way to go around a shape and make a selection like that. Can we do a very precise selection like that? I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, unless you have a massive gift of being able to follow precisely all around, you know, you end up with something like that. Is this a precise selection? Not really. Command D. The optional is the other option is the polygonal lasso that we did last class to add to that wrench. And what this does, it creates straight line. So is it going to work for the ballerina? Unlikely. The way it works is this time, instead of clicking and dragging like you did earlier, you click and click and click and click and click. You get the picture. Not going to work for the ballerina. Command D. Other option we have that is pretty sweet is the magnetic lasso. The reason why it's sweet is because the magnetic lasso works through color contrast. So for example, if it finds two colors that have completely different hues, or even completely different saturation, you know, but basically rides the line between those two. So in this case, wherever we have black, it works. And by the way this works is I click once and then I follow the line where there is the contrast. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to click and then I'm going to basically drag. I basically click once, then release it, and then I drag all around the figure. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Now you can still mess it up if you go way far out. If the poor thing doesn't know what to do and you're in trouble, but overall it's pretty good. It's pretty good work. It does a very nice clean job for you, as long as you have very kind of like separated colors. If the ballerina was against a lighter color, it'll be a lot harder to get it right. It still doesn't get it perfectly right, if you notice, by the hair. You see right here, some of the hair got cut out because it's not as high contrast, or maybe I got it, I moved in a little bit, because it's really still relying on my hand and what I do with my hand. It's not like a plug and play type of thing. So talking about plug and play type of thing, I'm going to do Command D. The ones that are more plug and play are here. And I'm going to talk about the magic wand and the quick selection tool. The quick selection tool works very similarly, and also the magic wand works very similarly to the magnetic lasso. Goes and looks at colors, differences, and rides that line in between the two. So for example, I use the quick selection tool. What I can do is I'm going to click on the black, because I know there's a lot of black. And if I click on the black and then I keep moving in this direction, basically drag it, I kind of include what's black. Now, it's not as clean as you can see here. Got a little bit messy. So it doesn't do as good of a job. You basically need to go, or let's actually do it with the white, with the ballerina, see if it does a better job. So I'm going to click on her skin tone right here. And then I'm going to, it's not really working that well. And I drag, maybe it's not bad. You see, you keep dragging over the colors that you want to include. And if there is enough contrast with the background, you actually might get exactly what you want. Oh my gosh, that's pretty good. It did actually a pretty good job. You see the quick, this tool, I don't remember if it's called quick selection or quick magic wand, I call it sometimes. But this one is pretty good, right? It's doing a good job. I still have to click and drag and trying to, you know, keep going around the figure. Now, an even more plug and play one, and I'm going to do Command D for deselect, is the magic wand. That one allows me to click on one color, for example, in this case, the black, and selects all that color. Now, you notice up here I have a tolerance. If I change the tolerance, it will change the spectrum of color that gets. For example, all I need here is black. But let's say there was a bunch of grays that I wanted to catch that doesn't get included. I can change that tolerance to see if I can catch the grays as well. In this case, look, I click, and is it doing a great job? Not really. Not for the floor, because a lot of the black goes in the floor. So now if I do select inverse, that's supposed to get me the ballerina, it gets also the floor. So the magic wand is quick, but doesn't always do the trick. Now, so should I go back to the quick selection tool? Maybe. Or I'm going to use a tool that is incredible, that is called the Quick Mask tool. The Quick Mask tool, and it's called quick, but it's almost like an oxymoron, right? Because it's not quick at all. In this case, it's going to be quick, though. What it does is the most precise selection tool you have, because it allows you to paint white to include in the selection and black to remove from the selection, right? So right now we have the ballerina is included, but also the stuff that is included that I don't want. Now pay attention that right now the colors are green and green, right? On my background and foreground options. Look what happens when I hit Q. They turn black and white. And what it means is, it's telling me you can paint with black or with white. But again, what you're really doing is not painting with black and white. You're including in the selection if you're painting with white, or you're excluding from the selection if you're painting with black. To get there, you have to hit Q. Q is the tricky part. That is for Quick Mask. So what do I do? Let me actually get out really quick. So that's where we were. What I did is I used the magic wand. So I clicked on this tool and I clicked on the black. Are you with everybody with me? I see you're a little lost. Are you good? Awesome. So in the minute in which I hit Q, I go in Quick Mask mode. And the red overlay is just to help me figure out which one is included and which one is not. So if right now I'm painting with black, I need to obviously hit the P for the paintbrush or select it right here. Sorry, B is the paintbrush, P is the pen. So I'm going to select it right here and I start. So these pixels are included in the selection, but they need to be excluded. So I need to paint these with black, right? Black excludes from the selection. White included. So I'm going to make my paintbrush bigger, just like in Illustrator using the square bracket, and I'm going to paint. So I'm painting. As you can see, I'm not really painting with black though, right? I'm painting with this weird red overlay that simply tells me that those pixels that I'm painting on will be excluded from the selection. So right now, if I switch back to Q, that means normal mode, I'm doing good, right? It was very quick. Now notice though, I still have some garbagey pixel here that are not good. So I'm going to hit Q again, and I'm going to go and clean really everything up. If you want to, make it really, really, really big and go all around. And now I'm going to hit Q again. Now I generated a problem because my brush was too big and cut out some of the foot of the ballerina. So I'm going to hit Q again. And this time I need to paint with white, right? Because I need to include in the selection. So right now over there I have black. So I'm going to hit X. X is the shortcut to inverse black and white. And then I'm going to again hit B for my brush. It's huge. I need to make it a lot smaller. And then I can go in and finally get that little beautiful tip of the shoe included in my selection. Sometimes go very small at the edges. Do a nice clean job, everyone. So the Quick Mask, if anybody ever asks, what is the Quick Mask? Your answer would be the most precise selection tool that I have, because it allows me to paint with black and white to include or exclude from the selection. Like notice here, now I included the shoe by painting with white, but here, yeah, here actually is still white. You can eventually zoom out and then go all around the figure. So you can do Command minus, and then with the space bar, go all around the figure to make sure we got it right. It looks pretty good. Let me hit Q again. Not too good around the head. Look at that. See, this area is not great, and I'll teach you later on how to select hair. But for the sake of today, I'm going to just go in and exclude these little elements, right? Go in and paint with black wherever I see those little bit of kind of smooth around the hair area for the sake of today. Being the first day with the Quick Mask and selection tool. We'll get much, much more sophisticated. I promise you that. So I'm just going all around with my black tool here. There we are. So if I now hit Q again, better. Yes. So let me finish the demo and then I'll come around. There will be always lab time. Actually, let me come and help you so you can continue with us. So you have to have a selection, active selection. Oh yeah, because you have the other stuff. Go back to Q. So you have the background selected. You need to go select and merge, and then you're good. Okay. So guys, if you see the red in the other side part, is because likely you have selected. You know, let's say I have selected the ballerina. You have selected the background. Is that good? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So all you have to do is select and merge is the trick. All right. Let's say that we're good now. So I have my selection done. What can I do next? Let's say I want this ballerina to be on top of an elephant. So let me show you what I mean. That's what I wanted. So I want this ballerina to end up on top of the elephant right there. So one way to do it is, let me open the elephant. Don't you love ballerinas and elephant? This elephant in particular is beautiful. It's a baby elephant. You see that? So what I can do here is I can go in here and do Command C. Now that I have an active selection, I could do Command C, open my elephant, and do Command V. Then Command T to make it smaller, to make the ballerina smaller, and life is good. Return confirms that you got the scaling done. Everybody with me? But let's say I show this to a client, and the client says, I don't like that white in there. It does not look good. She shouldn't have a big white dot on her shoulder. Now, in my layer here, all I have is that. I can try to delete it, or let's say the client says, I want a little bit of the black around the ballerina. I don't like her like that, because it kind of fits nicely with all the speckles of the elephant. So if I want to edit anything here, if I want to do anything here, I'm in trouble because I lost all the pixel of the background. Is everybody with me? So what else can I do? So if I go in the ballerina, what I can do is unlock the background by double clicking. And then do you see this tool down here? This little guy right here. This looks like a Japanese flag at the bottom of the layers. So if I click on that, what that does, it creates a mask that is attached to that layer that says, if you look at the mask, everything that is in white, the ballerina, is visible, and everything that is in black is masked out. So now if I go and I grab my elephant, sorry, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to grab the elephant. I go to the elephant file and say Command A. You need to make sure you're on layer 0. Command copy. And then I go to my ballerina that I just masked, and I do Command V. And I move that layer to the bottom. Now my ballerina is on top of the elephant. And when I go and grab that ballerina layer up here, and I do Command T, oops, I can scale it down just like I did earlier, right? And I put it on top of the elephant right there, and I hit return. Now it might be a good idea, since the ballerina file was bigger than the elephant, so I have all this transparency, you can use this tool, that is the crop tool, and crop the image in a little bit. So now what you have is you have two layers, the one of the elephant and the one of the ballerina that has all the content that was in the original layer, but certain parts are masked out. Is that clear to everyone? Now, what if the client says, I want more black around the ballerina, or I want to remove that white dot? I can zoom really, really close right there. And then I make sure, pay attention to this. If I want to edit what is visible or not visible in this ballerina, I need to target the mask. So what I need to do now is to remove this white dot. I need to paint it with black in the mask, right? Because black means remove from the selection. Hide, conceal. White means reveal, include, present. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into and target the mask. So you see that the little notice the difference here. I'm targeting the ballerina, or I'm targeting the mask. The difference are also easy to see in the colors. When you're targeting the ballerina, your foreground and background are greens, but if I go in the mask, they turn to black and white. So what I need to do is I need to paint black on the mask. So I'm going to hit the B for brush. I'm going to make it nice and small. I'm going to hit X, so I'm painting with black. And I'm going to go in here and start painting. And guess what? The white dot goes away. Boom. Command 0, life is good. If the client says, I want more black around the ballerina, instead, I'm still targeting the mask. Because right now the black around the ballerina is masked out, if I wanted to reveal it, what do I need to do? Come on, try, guys. I want in the mask to show more than the ballerina. Show a little bit of her background. Yes, Reba?
Can you use the white brush?
Yes, you just paint with a white brush, right? So I'm going to hit X again, and I'm going to go and make my brush nice and big. And make sure that I have the mask targeted, and I start painting, and all the background of the ballerina comes back. You're getting the picture, right? We're starting with a rough selection, then we're using the quick mask to refine it, and then to avoid discarding a bunch of information, we use the layer mask. Yes, Sarah?
How do you make sure the mask is selected? You just said something about like making sure.
You just click on it. Notice if you click on here, it highlights, there's a little stroke around that, and you'll see that your foreground and background color are green. But if you click on the mask, that one is selected. Now notice, I'm going to tell you something very interesting. The two are generally linked together. But if I actually unlink it, look at that, and with the move tool, or the V is the shortcut, I start moving, look what happens. What I'm really doing when I do a mask is I'm basically making a hole, and then I can move it around however I want to. Most times you don't, right? Because the hole you made is targeted to a certain area that you want to be visible. But be aware that a layer mask, all it is a hole in a layer. It's basically taking a piece of that layer and making it go away, and leaving what you need in there. Again, you can move it around, just letting you know. Not something you need in this case, but here we are. Now we got the ballerina. And I'm going to teach you another trick, because, I like tricks, guys. So this ballerina is a little bit too stark white against this green. I want her to be visible, but not that visible. Because right now, if I was to ask you guys, and we talked about composition in this class a whole lot with the discussion, which of these, in this image, which one of the two is the protagonist, is the main focus? Is it the elephant or is it the ballerina? I bet half the class would say the elephant and the other half would say the ballerina. I mean, they're both pretty striking. We got to agree to that. And the ballerina is very bright, so I would say possibly the ballerina, but the elephant is so adorably cute. I kind of want to go to the elephant, and that almost tactile, I feel like I want to touch his skin, right? It's so beautiful. So I want to tune her down a bit. One way to do it is by putting a color on her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to command click. Pay attention to this shortcut. Every time you want to load something that is in a layer, you can simply command click on it. In fact, let me show it to you in a different context, like here. So for example, if I create a circle right here, and I do Option Delete to fill it, and then I lose the selection. And someone says, hey, I really want you to have a selection around that circle. I can go on that layer and command click, and the selection would load. That is lovely. This is one of your most powerful tools, guys. I use it all the time. So in this case, if you notice in this ballerina, what I did is I gave the ballerina, let me actually take it out, a green overlay. I basically selected the ballerina, filled it with green, and then I used this beautiful thing called blend modes that we'll talk about in a minute to make it on multiply, and then I lower the opacity. Now, when you turn everything back on, the ballerina is green. So I'm going to do the same thing in front of you guys. I just wanted to give you a heads up of where we're going, so it might be more understandable to you. So I'm going to command click on the mask right here to load the ballerina. Oops, I noticed that I have a sloppy job here. Look at Enrica. Ooh, yuck, not good. What did I do? That's part of the reflection on the floor that I didn't block out. Can I fix it? How can I fix it? I don't want these pixels to be visible in there. How do I make them go away? Riva gave us the answer earlier, right? I wanted something to show up. She said paint it with white. I want something to go away. Guess what? Paint it with black. Yes. So I'm going to make sure I have black. I have the brush. I have it small because, and I go in, make sure the target is the mask. And I go in and, oops, Command D. You need to deselect because it's only going to paint on stuff that is included in the selection. I don't want that. I want to make it go away. Boom. I also have a bit of a sloppy job in here around her foot. Do you guys see it? And I apologize. I don't know. It's hard sometimes to do a clean job while you're demoing because you want to be quick, right? All right, so now we're good. So I'm going to go back to reload that selection by command clicking. I'm going to create a brand new layer. And this green that I have loaded is pretty good. If you want a different green, you can do this. You can use this tool called the eyedropper and go in and choose which green you want. And you'll see it will be loaded on your foreground. Yes. Command T. And then drag on the corners. Don't hold shift because strangely enough in Illustrator you have to hold shift to keep the proportion. In Photoshop you don't. Sorry about that. I didn't design the software. I always find it weird, right? They're the same, software maker. Why don't they keep it consistent? Anyway, that's a different story. It used to be actually that you had to. It's just later a version of Photoshop that you don't need the shift key. All right, so now I have a layer. Now I have a color, and I know that and I have a selection that I loaded by command clicking on here. And you know that to make a fill, you can do Option Delete. We've done that many times. How does it look? Beautiful, huh? Not really. Okay, so I'm going to deselect. I'm going to grab that layer, and I want to show you these things called blend modes. These are different algorithms that you can choose that will make the ballerina blend or will make that layer, in this case is the solid color, blend with the layers below, right? So if I choose, for example, lighten, it looks like that. This is a certain algorithm. Screen will look like this. Color dodge will look like this. Multiply is the one that it is more effective to make her go away, but it's a bit too strong. You can barely see her. So you can also say, okay, I want it on multiply, but I want it at 60% multiply. So I can still see her, a little bit better. So now if you look at this image, you first go to the elephant, you kind of go and follow the trunk, and then you find the ballerina rising over there. So this lecture was about selections in general, quick mask in particular, that is the most precise selection mode you have that allows you to paint with white to include in the selection and with black to remove from the selection. After that, we went into showing you that once you have that selection, if you do command copy and command paste into a new file, you lose a lot of information. And we want to actually always use something called non-destructive editing in Photoshop. It means we should not destroy information. We should keep it. How do I keep it? With layer masks. And once you got your layer mask done, if you want to blend it in with the environment to create a collage that is more effective, you can go and use this selection command click to select, fill it with create a new layer, fill it with a solid color, and then use blend modes to decide what is going to work best for your needs. That's kind of what this lecture is about, and it looks like a lot of content, and maybe it is, but it's crucial content in Photoshop. These tools are your best friends.